back in session, gentlemen. Item 8.2 is Land Development Code Amendment for outdoor lighting. And I have Mr. James C. Miller who would like to speak to this item. Would you like to introduce it first?
Yes, please. Okay. Ordinance 2017-11, an ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Fernandina Beach, Florida, amending the Land Development Code, Chapter 1, Section 1.00.07, definitions, and by striking and replacing Section 3.06.00, outdoor lighting with wildlife planning, providing for severability and providing for an effective date.
Okay. Mr. Miller.
Excuse me. Excuse me again. James Miller, 96501 Black Rock Road, owner of 108 South Fletcher Avenue. I've got about 15 minutes. I'm going to stuff into 3, so I'm going to zoom through a whole bunch of stuff. Okay, next slide, please. Oops, where are you there? Okay, I'm an engineer with a master's in system management. So the first question I always ask is, what are the deficiencies with the existing ordinance that are being corrected by this ordinance? What are the specific remedies? In the various whereases at the beginning of it, there's no mention of any deficiencies. And as Berlant said, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So, and also, this is a model ordinance written by a university with a grant they got, and it's not necessary, as far as I can see, that you adopt that model ordinance. We have an existing ordinance that seems to be working. Next slide. There seems to be no upsurge or any change in the number of strandings of turtles. Next slide. Same thing with disorientations. Okay. These are some technical issues. I'm going to skip it this time. Next slide. Another technical issue we'll skip. Next slide. Okay, if I read these definitions correctly, someone smoking on my front porch would be in violation of this ordinance. A car turning off Fletcher Avenue onto beach access number 1 would be in violation of this ordinance. The threshold of 0 for the intensity is something that, as an engineer, you would never write into anything. The description, next slide. Okay. This, I can't decipher what this means personally. So a simple bounding box would be a much easier way to describe where this applies rather than this. The definition of the beach, the National Flood Insurance Program has a very good definition of beach. It's codified in the U.S. Code and is delineated on the flood protection maps, which would be a much better thing to have in here than this definition. And there's some backup information as to why. This demands that I have tinted windows where the previous ordinance allowed me to mitigate with blinds, curtains, and placements of lights. I estimate this is going to cost me over $1,200. Same thing for other owners. And here's my major point. Oh, well.
10 seconds. Go ahead, Mr. Miller.
The issue of a human observer versus a turtle. The slide here shows what a human sees on the left and what a turtle would see on the right. And they're two vastly different things.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Miller. Okay.
My Indian turtle's a pretty big one at that.
Thank you. Okay. Is there any discussion, or Ms. Gibson, would you like to give a little summary from the Planning Advisory Board?
Absolutely. I want to start by introducing this item as one of those items that we have moved forward in keeping with the direction of the comprehensive plan to address both penalties and enforcement for our sea turtle lighting, as well as come into compliance with today's standards for sea turtle and wildlife planning. One of the things that we've done as part of this effort is coordinate directly with Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission, as well as our Florida Public Utilities and Code Enforcement and our Sea Turtle Watch Group, to look at the ordinance, look at the model that was introduced by the University of Florida, and make sure that it would function well for Fernandina Beach, and that it would be something that we could defend moving forward. One of the deficiencies of the existing ordinance as it's written is that there is no enforcement arm, there's no penalty provision. This does put that in place so that current actions don't defer directly to what you would find through the Code Enforcement and Appeals Board. That is one of the more significant changes. The other piece that I believe Mr. Miller addressed was concerns about the definition for the sea turtle friendly zone, and map graphics have been provided as part of the ordinance to be incorporated with the code so that it is indicating exactly where this would be enforceable. With respect to coming into compliance, simply turning off a light when it's noticed is a form of coming into compliance. When you go to modify your windows, that is when tinting or new windows would be reviewed for sea turtle compliance within this area. It's not something that we're retroactively going to enforce and require on property owners within this area. I believe that addresses most of the questions, with the exception of concerns about how we're measuring foot candles. This is a standard that has been adopted more or less statewide, using foot candles as a measure to determine compliance. And I know that Commissioner Krieger has far more experience in actually reviewing this out in the field than I do, but may be able to speak more directly to that piece of it.
Okay. Did you want to interject real quick? Your light was
Just
on
real
first.
quick, I have had, at the planning board meeting, there was a lot of discussion, but it was mostly about the penalties. As if the penalty section, which is not in our current ordinance, was something new. They were bigger fines, and that was the perception. I have spoken with Vice Mayor Krieger about that. If it is the pleasure of the commission, I can tell you we can delete everything except for the Sea Turtle Fund. That would be my part. All this is doing is articulating what our current process is, and that's going through first a notice of violation, time to cure, and then going to a code enforcement board hearing if it does not come into compliance. So if we think that that confuses people or sends the wrong message, it's fine to take that out, because that's how we enforce our ordinances anyway, if we don't talk about citations. So, just for thought.
Okay, Vice Mayor Krieger?
Just to reiterate what, this process was brought as a city application. And if you remember when we did the Chapter 3 quite a while back, there were some significant problems, and I asked that they pull it till we got some clarification. And we sent it to the FWC and the FPU because some of the things that were in this model were in fact couldn't be complied with by state law, and those were fixed. The nice thing about this is a good point. You know, things get better. We got more turtles, but disorientation is a problem, and it's something to work on and get better. One thing this does adopt, this is the first time it actually requires measurement by instrument, whether it's foot candles or we'll get a better one later. It takes the subjectivity out of the process. Another thing it does is it defines in detail, gives a better idea of what a long wavelength light bulb is. Now, you can't buy those at Walmart, and one of the tasks on the city code enforcement basically is to ensure that the public has a location they can buy that light bulb. So it's a reasonable approach to make something better. Code enforcement goes out once a month and checks the beach. They don't write violations. They leave cards. They try to work with people. You always have some problems with line of sight issues, but it's like I say, it was a part of this comprehensive planning process that was brought forward by the city, and we were involved a little bit. We being me and we sent it all out. And we incorporated all the changes that were appropriate, that they asked for.
Kelly, are you,
Passed the PAB twice, 5-0.
okay. We're still gathering information. Commissioner Pointer?
Yeah, I mean, I don't get the having to put film on windows, and we just had a record number of turtles. I think we're just getting a little carried away on some of this stuff. Now we got code enforcement people walking around measuring line of sight, and does this person have the curtain up or down, or is there a turtle there or not? And I'm not going to vote for this.
Commissioner Smith?
Believe it or not, I agree with Tim. This, people have rights too. This whole thing is going against people's rights. Like Tim said, the turtles, we got more than ever. And the speaker said, is it measured from the turtle's eyes or my eyes at 6 feet? And his pictures really illustrated that well. Plus, there's berms out there on most of the beach, and maybe some turtles crawl up to the top of them, but I doubt if they do to lay eggs. So, yeah, I think this is overkill. I've heard that this came from one of the previous planners. Thought this was a great idea. How many cities have something this crazy? Since you were talking to them.
Have adopted a form of the model
Of
ordinance.
crazy ones like this strict.
I'm not sure how many cities have
Yeah, see,
incorporated it as
I don't think we got to be the main city all the time and doing stuff like this. I mean, for people to have to pay for blackout curtains or whatever, a lot of people are rich out on the beach, I'll agree, but there's some people out there that have had those houses forever, and I just don't see it. I mean, I like turtles, probably not as much as Lynn, but I'm not going to vote for this either. I think it's just overkill, and we're taking away people's rights and making them do something that we don't have to.
Commissioner Miller?
Yeah, getting back to your example you just gave, when you say it's grandfathered in basically, so you wouldn't have to, like a low-income person would not have to go out and spend $10,000 on film for their windows. It's only a new construction home, correct?
That's correct.
I mean, that means at some point all the houses as they fall apart or the new ones come up will be in compliance, and then you're not going to charge somebody a bunch of money to go out and put film on their windows because they don't have to. So I follow Lynn on this one. Are you good with this one, Lynn?
Yeah.
I'm voting with you because I mean you're the expert.
Well, we didn't. You got to make the motion.
Okay.
We haven't made a motion yet.
No, I'm going to vote how you're voting. So I'm just going to let you. If you're for it, I'm for it. You're the turtle guy.
He's voting no.
Okay. Did you guys, Ms. Gibson, were you done with your presentation?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. Is there a motion on the
I
floor?
recommend approval.
Second.
Okay. Caroline, will you please call the vote?
Vice Mayor Krieger,
Yes.
Commissioner Miller,
Yes.
Commissioner Smith,
Speaking for the people, no.
Commissioner Pointer,
No.
and Mayor Lentz.
No.